Every rocket launched into space has a mission. Most important of all is to bring back vital information recorded by instruments in the nose cone. As most of these rockets plummet into the sea, I was called in to assist an advanced experimental unit. My assignment was to recover the nose cones underwater as quickly as possible. After a long search, I was getting an indication on a special type detector designed to respond to directional signals from the nose cone. They became stronger and guided me in. As I prepared to send up a marker buoy, I knew for sure the recoveries were taking too long. I didn't know how dangerous they could be. 3 weeks later, I hobbled into the office of Dr. Bartok, the scientist who directed the XM rocket series of experiments.
Pretty rough getting around.
A little.
Yeah, that was a mighty close call, Mike. I can't hold you to this contract.
Oh, close calls are part of my business. What bothers me is the time it takes to locate the nose cones.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's the record. Average time in 12 recoveries, 14 hours. 6 nose cones not recovered at all.
Yeah, that's the trouble. If we don't find them fast, we don't find them at all. What I need is a new operating procedure.
What else is there to do but to swim down and search for them?
No, my detector isn't doing the job. Let's see now, when's our next flight? The 25th?
25th, yeah.
Well, by then my leg ought to be okay. And by that time, I ought to have something new to show you. On the 25th, we were alerted for the flight and re-entry of the XM-17 rocket. We had received initial vectors to guide us from a rocket tracking ship. Our own scanning devices homed us to the impact area. To recover the nose cone of the XM-17, I was going to rely on speed. The boat would get us to the approximate area rapidly. A power unit would give me speed for the underwater search. While I went astern to ready for my jump-off, Dr. Bartok kept watching to sight the splash point. When we reached the impact zone, my underwater scooter gave me good speed. It also enabled me to maneuver freely. But neither speed nor freedom of movement was enough. We struck out on the XM-17. I decided to use a midget submarine as an underwater missile chaser. I gained one big advantage. I could carry additional air tanks in the sub. This permitted me to search underwater for a long period without surfacing. But the sub was slow. I couldn't maneuver as well as I could with a scooter, and my visibility was limited. Despite hours of searching, I didn't find the XM-20 at all. The midget sub wasn't the answer. To achieve the speed and visibility that I wanted, I rigged an underwater sled. I was able to control my depth in the water, but it was too difficult to direct the course of the boat that towed me. I soon realized that a sea sled wasn't the answer either. When the X-24 was launched, I was determined not to fail. I knew that I had to combine speed, maneuverability, and good detection equipment. To attain speed, I went back to boats. We were using a large one, guided visually and by radar to reach the impact area. Then I boarded a secondary search boat for the final phase. It was a fast outboard with a sensitive metal detector fixed to its hull. The pickup of the device extended into the water on a boom. Watching the instruments for indications as we executed a wide search pattern. "120 seconds after reaching the area, the boom began to pick up weak signals. As we zeroed in close to our target, my assistant and I headed for the bottom.
Are you certain that you can always duplicate the speed of that last recovery?
Boy, it's all simple equipment. A boat, a detector, and me. Nothing much to go wrong.
All right. In that case, the XM series will be changed to PXM. P for passenger.
Well, if it's all right with them, it's all right with me.
They have to be recovered within 1 hour of impact.
Oh, don't you worry, boy. I'll get you up in time. After a flight through space, Dr. Bartok's mice and the vital information they could reveal were sealed in a capsule inside a nose cone somewhere on the ocean bottom. My job was to reach them before their limited air supply was exhausted.
Let's go.
Dr. Bartok had given me a diagram to enable me to remove the airtight plate quickly and recover the capsule.
did it.
They had no choice.
That's so much for PXM-1. Next, the white rat. Then guinea pig, rabbit, monkey. I've scheduled 32 flights.
Well, let's hope that we'll have 32 recoveries, huh? In the course of the next 3 months, I accomplished the recoveries as scheduled. My operating procedure was working well. This recovery would be the last of the PXM series. I was looking for a space passenger named Angel Face. We called our passenger Angel Face not because of her looks, but because her flight took her closer to the angels than any animal had been before. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell us about her trip. But through his stethoscope, Dr. Bartok got the story that he was looking for.
Came through it beautifully. Well, that's the end of the PXM series. 100% success. Calling my next series the HXM series.
Next series? I thought this was the end of it. HXM. What's the H for?
H for human.
Human.
We've been working on it for months in the laboratory, under simulated conditions.
Yeah, no. Doing it for real. Who's it gonna be? The first human?
Me.
Using animals for experiments in space was one thing. But now Dr. Bartok, the director of the rocket series, was determined to be shot into space himself, inside a nose cone. In addition to an air supply for the capsule, he would carry an underwater breathing apparatus of special design for the ascent from the nose cone. I checked him out on it. A new miniature tape recorder combined with a throat microphone would go out into space with him. With this unit, he would continuously record his sensations, his reactions, and all the physiological data which a scientist could discern. This would provide a valuable record for future analysis. His flight was programmed to ascend 400 miles above the Earth and to return to a predetermined sector of ocean. But at this point, I was more concerned about Dr. Bartok than about any data that he might gather.
The target area is this 1 square mile in the ocean right there. What are you worried about?
Well, I know it all proves out, but...
Mike, the underwater ejection is completely automatic. In 1 minute, or at a depth of 40 feet, whichever is sooner, the capsule is ejected from the nose cone by compressed air.
If it works, or what if it doesn't? And you don't come up to the surface?
I will. And you're going to be standing by to pick me up. What could be simpler?
Well, I can think of a lot of things.
One week from today, Monday, 6 a.m.
It was Monday, August 3rd, the most important day in the logbook of the rocket experiments. Dr. Bartok was inside a capsule within the nose cone of that missile. Incredible and frightening, yet it was happening. And it was my responsibility to recover him, alive. We were using the system that had worked well before. But this time, we counted on an additional safety factor. That Dr. Bartok's capsule would be automatically ejected and rise to the surface.
case something did go wrong. I can't wait any longer.
I realized immediately that the ejector mechanism must have failed for some reason. That meant Bartok's life would depend on his limited air supply. I kept scanning the surface while Noam was watching the dials of the detector.
Minutes.
The sensitive metal detector had done its job, but it had led us to an old wreck. We had lost crucial minutes reaching it. I headed back toward the boat. Only a few hundred yards away, Dr. Bartok's nose cone was wedged into a rocky bottom, but I didn't know it. All I knew was that if he was still alive, he was desperately waiting for us to find him.
Sensation, acceleration. G-forces are within human physical tolerance. Johnville experiments confirmed. Psychological hazard much greater. My sensation, like I was at the bottom of a deep well, with a mile-high pile driver resting on me, pressing me, smothering me. Physiological effects. Stomach sensation. In weightless condition, danger point. Tendency to throw up. Wearing of oxygen mask presents danger of strangulation. More research needed.
Another indication. Now, there's only 20 minutes left. You better not be wrong this time. Double back, half speed.
On physical and mental sensations, I have nothing further to report. Failure of underwater ejection due to chance. Judging by the angle at which I'm lying, rear closure plate is blocked by ocean bottom. One thing more. Martha, dear, please don't grieve for me. The moon and the stars can be had. If only you're willing to pay the price. I gladly pay my share.
Only 10 minutes left. We had to be near the nose cone. We had to be.
That's it. Here, hold it in. I'll stop.
We had found it this time, but how were we going to get Dr. Bartok out? The cone was wedged tightly on its base. I could see that we wouldn't be able to move the nose cone ourselves.
Give me a crowbar and a 1-inch line, and attach the other end of it onto your stern. Okay, Norm, get aboard. You can relay my signals. Okay, mate.
By my watch, I have only 4 minutes left. Better luck to those who will try it again.
Hurry up with that hook.
I attached the hook, hoping the boat would be able to dislodge the nose cone. And in time. The knocking told me Dr. Bartok was alive, but I still had to remove the plate of the jammed automatic ejector.
Perfectly, I'm sure. And with men like you, it won't be long before we'll be on the moon. Is it tied on? Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
I was investigating a shore area in preparation for an underwater photography contest. The currents were not too strong and the water was quite clear. I had an exposure meter in a watertight housing to check the light. The light readings looked good to me at all depths. The underwater landscape was fine for photography. It was beautiful and rugged. There seemed to be plenty of marine life, too. I swung around a rock on my way back to the surface. I was surprised to see another diver down here on the bottom. I watched him for a moment or two, trying to figure out what he was up to. All of a sudden, I realized he was in trouble. As I reached him, he grabbed for my mouthpiece. But I saw at once that his own emergency air supply had not been tapped. I pulled the emergency valve, and the air poured into his mouthpiece from his own tanks. As I started him toward the surface, I sized him up. Obviously, he was unfamiliar with his equipment, and he certainly had no business in the water alone, inexperienced as he must be. I couldn't know then that this encounter would one day put me in an even worse spot underwater, without air, struggling for my life. My newfound friend had little to say when we reached the surface. He was weak and wobbly and out of breath.
What did you do? I thought for sure I was out of air.
How long have you been diving?
I'm just learning.
Why didn't you pull your J valve?
What's that?
The lever for your emergency air supply. This. What kind of an instructor did you have, anyway? He ought to be arrested.
I'm his instructor, thank you. Mr. Cap, you had no business going off by yourself.
He had no business being in the water at all. How long have you been an instructor?
Long enough.
You got an instructor certificate?
No.
In this county, it's against the law to teach without one.
Well, I'm sure I can get one.
Yeah. The tests aren't easy.
How would you know?
I help give them. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for when I spoke my piece that time. A week later, I started a new class of applicants for instructors' licenses. As I called the roll for the first time to get acquainted with my new pupils, I hardly expected to find a familiar face. But there she was, Gracie Bond by name, and with a look in her eye that spelled trouble.
I must say she handled herself very well. She swam as if she'd been skin diving all her life. For a while, I thought I'd been wrong about her attitude. Next came the underwater breath-holding test.
What was my time?
It's about a minute.
Oh, let me try it again. I can stay down much longer than that.
No, that won't be necessary. You qualified.
But barely, huh? You are just determined to keep me from demonstrating how wrong you are and how wrong you've been.
You're the one who's wrong, Miss Bond. I'd like to see you get that certificate.
Well, it certainly doesn't look that way.
She has quite a temper, hasn't she?
Yeah. All right.
The real showdown came when the class went out to the ocean. First, we did routine procedures such as clearing masks and removal of the mouthpiece. Finally, I demonstrated to the class the technique of ditching a tank and recovering it. This is one of the most important tests of confidence and self-discipline for a diver. I had taught them how to rise slowly, letting out air, and to go back down after one breath. We returned to our diving boat. I paired off the candidates for their ditching test. I gave them two final orders. Don't go below 25 feet, and under no circumstances, leave your buddy. Gracie and her partner were the first pair down. The bottom I had picked out was no more than the necessary 25 feet down. But close by, it dropped sharply to nearly 60 feet. And that was just what Gracie was looking for. Gracie's buddy prepared to ditch his equipment, while she prepared to ditch him. She was always trying to prove that she was better than anyone else. And a chance to come up from 60 feet instead of 25 looked to her like a good way to do it. When Gracie's diving buddy came up alone and yelled out his story to me, I wasted no time getting into the water myself. Even as I swam toward her, I could tell that she wasn't in any trouble. In fact, she seemed to be doing everything exactly as it should be done. I offered her air from my tanks, but she signaled that she didn't want any. She was determined to make the surface in one breath, and she wasn't going to spoil it now.
Now, don't tell me you weren't impressed. You were angry with me?
Anyone who can't take instructions certainly can't give them.
You're not washing me out.
Yes, for the protection of other people, as well as for yourself.
Look, I've got to have that certificate. I've got a job waiting for me as instructor at the New Malaga Shores Hotel. It's the best job I ever had.
Yeah, well, I'd rather you lose your job than lose your life.
Oh, Mr. Nelson, you're a pompous, stuffing square.
We'll row you back to shore, huh?
No, thank you. I'll swim in.
I thought that I'd seen the last of her. That was my mistake. A big mistake. Almost a fatal one. Gracie Bond was the last person on my mind as I rode down the street of a lazy Caribbean seaport a few months later. I was down here on business, searching for some extremely rare sea specimens. So far, I hadn't found what I was looking for. I stopped cold to watch a giant sea turtle hightailing at full speed for the surface. Then I saw the reason for its haste. It was being pursued by a girl diver. She caught up to the turtle and hung on for the ride. There was something very familiar about this girl. She looked like Gracie Bond, and she acted like Gracie Bond. But I figured the island was big enough for both of us, if I kept to my end of it. I couldn't keep to my end of the island. I needed an air compressor to pump my tanks, and the only one available was at the Hotel Carioca, where they advertised skin diving lessons and spearfishing trips, all in charge of Miss Gracie Bond. I hoped maybe that it was another Gracie Bond. It wasn't.
Welcome, Mr. Nelson. I heard you were around asking for an air compressor. You're welcome to use ours anytime you'd like it.
When I turn it on, will it explode?
You know, I wouldn't have landed in this wonderful place if we hadn't had that, shall I say, misunderstanding. You really helped me.
You mean I'm no longer a pompous, stuffy square?
No, you're not. I'm very willing to let bygones be bygones if you are, Mike. And I haven't drowned a single pupil yet.
No narrow escapes?
And no narrow escapes.
Huh?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm truly glad you're here. I've got a favor to ask.
Feed myself to the sharks, huh?
No. I've just located a very unusual cave a little beyond Pirate Bay. Looks like a wonderful place for practice dives. But I'm not sure about letting my pupils use it, whether it's really safe or not. Would you make a dive with me and look it over?
Well, it's not the cave that I'm concerned about, it's you.
But I've changed, Mike. Come with me. I'll show you how well behaved I am.
It's amazing.
What?
What a pretty girl can do to a guy.
Try my back?
I really wanted to believe that Gracie had reformed. And on our way out to Pirate Bay aboard the Chestnut, she did her best to convince me. The fish weren't interested in our bait, but I was certainly taking hers. What she really wanted was to come back home, get her instructor's license, and settle down. Despite the glamorous job she now had, she was homesick. And she was working on me to win me over. She figured that I was the key to getting that license. When we finally anchored in Pirates Bay, I went out to set up our diving raft. Gracie started implementing her plan. That was my air tank she was fooling with. She removed my regulator. Now she put the regulator on a set of tanks, exactly like mine. Only thing, they were less than half full of air. Having exchanged the regulators, she switched the position of the tanks. I'd never know that I was going below without enough air to get back up. I could see that in one way, at least, Gracie hadn't changed. She wanted to be far out in front as she led the way down to the cave. But when we reached the cave, I decided that I had better go in first. It was an interesting cave, but it was narrow and twisting. Certainly no place for students. I hesitated because there were so many obstructions ahead. Then I went on alone to see whether it was safe. All of a sudden, I inhaled and got no air. I reached for my emergency valve. It did no good. I looked to Gracie for help. Why was she standing there? She could see that I was in trouble. But Gracie had planned it this way, not to come to my rescue till I'd really appreciate it. This she hadn't planned, getting hung up herself. No, this, tearing her air hose loose. Now we were both in trouble, bad trouble. She had air, but her breathing apparatus was wrecked. I had no air, but my breathing apparatus worked. There was nothing to do but try to switch mine to her tank, if we could both hold our breath till the job was done. Gracie, I remembered, couldn't hold her breath long. I worked feverishly. She held on. Gracie, the irresponsible, was at last behaving like a grown-up, despite lungs that threatened to burst and a sensation of panic that could have made her swim blindly to destruction. Her every reaction was the right one. As we finally swam toward the surface, sharing our air, I felt that she had at last proven herself. The truth didn't come out till later.
Hey, you all right? Huh?
You know why you ran out of air down there, Mike? It wasn't a mechanical failure. It was a human failure. I let half the air out of your tank.
What?
Oh, it was a reckless, stupid thing to do. But I thought it would give me a chance to help you and to make you grateful. And instead, it only proved that all those things you once said about me are true.
I ought to wring your neck.
I know. Oh, Mike, I've never been so scared.
Well, good. Maybe that's what you needed. Maybe now you'll take responsibility the way it should be taken. Some people only learn the hard way. They're lucky enough to live through it. Do you think you have learned anything this time?
Oh, I have, Mike. I have.
Basically, you have got what it takes. I mean, you came through all right down there when you had to.
Does that mean you're going to give me another chance to try for that certificate?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, Mike, what can I ever do to repay you?
Try my back. Hi there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is certainly a lot of fun, and it's full of adventure. See some more of it again next week, huh? When there'll be another excursion into that fabulous underwater world of sea hunt.
don't usually go on treasure hunts, but this time I was on a very special one. I was underwater in a West Coast harbor, looking for a fortune in illegal drugs. I was carefully checking the hulls, propellers, and rudders of boats and ships for any possible hiding place. The Federal Narcotics Bureau had an important tip. The drugs were expected to be in a sealed container attached below the waterline to some craft in the harbor. Then I saw another diver alongside the hull of a large ship. It seems that I'd been searching the wrong vessels. This other diver, whoever he was, had beaten me to the treasure. I wasn't going to let it get away that easily. Besides, I was sure that the Narcotics Bureau would be most interested in where he went with it. The diver brought his container ashore at a breakwater. Seemed to be waiting there. My guess was that it wouldn't be for long. I had a wild idea. If I was going to do something, I'd have to do it fast, while he was still alone.
What are you doing here?
Just a moment, please. Sorry. Get up. Let's go this way. What about him? We got the stuff. Let's go.
My only hope now seemed to be a couple of men walking down the beach.
Hi. Hi. Behave yourself. I'll give it to you right here.
What do you got there, Mac? A bomb?
Yeah.
Better be careful. Just go on.
You all right, Mike?
Hey, you cut it kind of close, didn't you?
Sorry.
$500,000 by the time these characters get through cutting it.
Now, one thing about those fellows from the Narcotics Bureau, they always seem to turn up at the right time. Though I wasn't so sure it was the right time when Charlie Keller turned up again.
See ya.
Doing yourself any good?
Am I? Take a look at this.
Hey, that's all right.
Half-hour fishing.
Mike, we need your help again. This time we need it fast.
Oh?
We've got a vessel out in the harbor that's under suspicion.
Yeah?
She docked this morning from Bolivano. We had a solid gold tip, 10 pounds of heroin, $2 million worth of this stuff on board.
Wow.
We searched it from stem to stern. We couldn't find a grain of it.
Check the hull, huh?
Well, Charlie Varick did. You know him, don't you?
Oh, he's a good man.
He didn't find it either, Mike.
Any chance they might have sneaked it off past you?
When they unloaded the cargo?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. We checked every box and every barrel. We even searched every crew member who went ashore, and that means all of them, except the bosun's mate. He's still aboard, taking care of the store.
You think you might be waiting for somebody to come out and take delivery, huh?
Well, that's possible, but it's pretty risky. Mike, she shoves off in the morning.
It's not possible to keep her from sailing some way, is it?
Not just on suspicion of contraband, no. We have to have some proof.
Well, I don't know what I could find that you fellas have missed. But if you want me to,
We do, Mike. That tip could be solid.
Okay. I'll go out and take a look.
I didn't expect to see anything much at that distance, so I wasn't disappointed. I was puzzled, though, by that crewman. What was he staring at so intently? Those bubbles? It just meant that the ship was discharging water from one of its ballast tanks. Nothing unusual about that. Suddenly I realized that it was unusual. That freighter had unloaded her cargo already. So she needed all the ballast that she could carry to ride easy. Instead, she was emptying one of her ballast tanks. Why? For only one reason that I could think of. That crewman wanted to get at something hidden in the tank. Those 10 pounds of heroin that the Bureau agents hadn't been able to find. I intended to get to it before he did. right tank, it seemed. Now, if my hunch was also right, I was about to find $2 million worth of heroin. This was it. I'd found it. Hidden aboard this freighter, tied up now in a West Coast harbor, was a quantity of heroin valued by the criminal underworld at $2 million. I had found the heroin, and I had been trapped in an empty ballast tank with it. It didn't take the crewman who had trapped me very long to decide my fate. He intended to drown me. He didn't know that I had a diving rod with me. Or maybe he did, and figured that he'd keep me in here until my air supply ran out. I couldn't wait to find out. I couldn't wait at all. Unless I got out in the next 30 minutes, I'd have to be dragged out. I took off my gear so I could work more easily. Well, the best knife in the world wouldn't have helped me. What I needed was an acetylene torch. I started to check my tanks. At the rate the water was rising, I'd have to depend on them very soon. knew what the crewman would expect to see now, floating in this water-filled coffin. I did my best not to disappoint him. I was heading for the dock when I spotted the two men coming aboard. I realized immediately that they were much bigger game than the container of narcotics itself.
Johnny! Go find him, Tom.
Yes, sir, Mr. D. Johnny! Hey, Johnny! 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 Hey, Johnny!
Hi! Be with you in a minute!
See Mike yet?
Not yet, but I'm sure he got on. I think he got on the other side, though.
We better get aboard and get him before they find him.
We can't. We gotta wait for him to make the buy first.
Well, that's pretty risky for Mike.
Hi.
Where's Johnny?
Oh, he went ashore.
On the shore?
Yeah. He wants me to handle a deal for him.
Who are you?
My name's Fred.
Must be a good friend of Johnny's.
I guess so.
What's his last name?
What is it, a game? How do I know? Calls me Freddie, I call him Johnny. We just work together, that's all.
You're a deckhand, aren't you?
No, I'm a captain. What's it look like I am?
Tom?
Where's he going?
Oh, he'll be back.
Look, if you don't want to make a buy, it's okay.
But we do.
All right, I'll go get the stuff then.
When we know it's yours to sell.
I found the stuff, Mr. D. And this. And there's no one on the crew less named Fred.
Thank you, Fred. Or whatever your name is. Skin diving equipment. You know, a diver cost us the shipment last month and a couple of my best boys. Diver by the name of Nelson. You, I suppose?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Tom, why don't you explain it to him? What did he say his name was?
Over right there, Mr. D. You too, Tom. Come over here, Tom. Now put your hands behind you, both of you.
We gotta get him to a hospital quick.
How you doing, man?
How you doing?
Well, I felt better. Did you get him?
You bet we did, Mike.
How about the heroin?
That too.
I feel better already.
Good man.
Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is fun and adventure for young and old, but it can be dangerous. So know the sport well and don't take any chances. Be with you next week for another exciting sea hunt.